The City of Breezy Point. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I won't for you today, and I couldn't find you.
Welcome, everybody. It's such a really nice day out there. I hope we can get this done quickly so we can get back to business. First order of business is the consent calendar. You have before you the meeting minutes from May 2nd, and you have the check register for electronic checks 152 or 1523E and 1524E, 1529E, 1530E. Paper checks 132-740, 132-741, and 132-743, and through 132-803. Is there anything that any council member would like taken off? Councilman Maroney?
None.
Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Councilman Williams? Councilman Parkin?
No, sir.
Entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
The
Aye.
consent calendar is approved. Next order of business is the open forum. Anybody wishing to have business or to speak to the council may do so at this time. Come forward, state your name and address, and you have time to speak to us.
Maury Wallers, 8871 Birch Lane, Breezy Point, Minnesota. Mr. Mayor. On the road project that we're talking about tonight,
Yes.
when the school bus goes down Aspen Lane to Lakeshore Drive, its two wheels just push that sand all over the place down there. So there needs to be a firmer base there before you put some chip on that stone, I would think. My observation.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else wishing to come before the open forum? Open forum is closed. Mayor and City Council reports have included in the packet a very nice letter that we got from the air traffic controller that was provided for the aviation days that we had here last month. And I attended there, and it was a great success, and I was very pleased. I don't know what Cliff does to get these days scheduled like that. It was a perfect day, and it was very, very heartwarming to have a letter like this come in, recognizing that the event in the community. Next item I'd like to talk about is I did attend a recognition for another recognition for our police department, where we received the Minnesota Commissioner's Award for participation in the TZD program. That's towards zero death. The Breezy Point Police Department has been a supporter of the TZD program, where we essentially have officers on the road promoting the highlight or the target of the TZD enforcement that particular weekend or whenever it is. And it was very pleasing to have another award that was given to the police department for the participation in the TZD program. That's another recognition of the really good work that our police force provides to the city council, or to the city of Breezy Point. And along that same line, there is a Coffee with the Cop coming up in June 16th. That's a Thursday. It's going to be from 1 to 5 at the coffee house at the Breezy Point Resort. There's a flyer on the front door as you come in. You can also refer to this one here. I went to the last one they had, and it was very good to be able to sit down and talk with the cops, one-to-one, and listen to what they do, how they do it, and it gives you a really great appreciation for the complexity of their job and what they do for us. And I think it's very worthwhile. I would encourage everybody to stop in and visit with the police force so that you can get to know them more on a personal basis. Council members, Councilman Maroney,
Nothing to report.
want to talk about the golf course?
I didn't know if Diane wanted the
Oh,
Is it?
Like
okay.
the grand opening?
open house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the open house.
Okay, I'll get to you then. Okay. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, I do have one item that I'd like to discuss with the council. You recall at our last meeting, and as reflected in the minutes, I had requested discussion on the animal husbandry portion of our zoning code. And I wrote a memo to the P&Z and observed on the YouTube the discussion that went down at that meeting in May. The thing I wanted to clarify, and perhaps Gary could take this back to the P&Z
Yes.
when they get into the discussion. My issue was not with animal husbandry per se being allowed in Breezy Point, but rather whether it's reasonable to assume that such a use, animal husbandry, be allowed in the residential zoned areas. I'm not going to go into all of my reasons for that. I had a discussion with Joe regarding some thoughts I had on the subject. I assume that those thoughts will get to whoever is going to be on the committee. I understand they appointed 2 members of the P&Z, long-standing members. And as I understand it, Gary, you and Michael somewhere along the line are going to join
Yes, we're available to them.
the fray. But it just seems to me that if there's any misunderstanding at all, I noticed in the, I believe it was the brief talked about a meeting that they had, and my concern strictly was with the residential zoned areas. I guess I could care less about the other parts of the community that are not zoned residential. I think we serve the public in particular to guarantee that there are no issues that arise that cause problems. The city does not have a particularly good record of enforcement. I did not want to see things happen that would require more enforcement, especially in a conditional use permit, which is a permanent situation with a particular lot. The other thing that I wanted to mention is animal husbandry includes a broad spectrum of the animal population. Ours refers to domestic, what I would call domestic, dogs and cats. But there's other things that come into play. We learned recently about sheep and their horses, cows, whatever, pigs, all come into play. And I really think if there's going to be a consideration, even to an interim use procedure to allow farm animals in a residential area. I think a list of perhaps a reasonable understanding as to what may populate your neighbor's yard. For example, if they want to raise rabbits or they want to raise chickens, I think, we already allow that through a licensing procedure. We limit it to a number, a small number, 10. I think there are things that we can talk about, but I think when it gets to talking about the larger farm animals being allowed in residential areas, we do exclude it in one of our zones, but all the others are fair game for consideration. So I just wanted to make that distinction. I think there was some misunderstanding, and clearly, as I was reviewing the minutes, I was reminded that it was specifically geared towards the residential zoned areas. I have nothing else.
Councilman Williams.
I have some things from the Cemetery Commission and Parks. We already began telling everybody that this Sunday from 1 to 3 is our open house grand opening of the disc golf course. There is going to be cookies, and I understand there's 3 sets of discs that will be, is that true?
I think there's
That's 3.
2 sets of discs,
Okay.
three discs, and then there's cookies. We've also gotten some restaurant coupons and hope to get a few more.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear about that, so.
That was recent.
That will be, that will be this Sunday at the parking lot of the disc golf.
Why don't you, for everybody else to know, exactly where is that?
Exactly. That's hard to say.
Oh, it's
Follow the signs.
Yeah,
all
all
the
the signs.
signs.
It's on green scene.
green scene.
And don't feel stupid if you miss it the first time you try to go there, because many of us have. But we did find it. And from the brief, I understand the grass is coming in even better than you had expected, right, Joe? That's good news.
I had the chance to play it 2 weekends ago, and it was absolutely great.
What was your, do you keep score? What was your score?
I was 3 over par, so I didn't have my discs yet. I was just using a standard frisbee for some of them. So
Okay. And then the Cemetery Commission, the butterfly release is July 16th. And also at our meeting, the women who do all that work and create the beautiful gardens over there were very appreciative of the 14 students who helped at the cemetery on the day of caring. They were very enthusiastic about the quality of the work the kids did, and it's very much appreciated. And I'd also like to report that there have been a total of 64 burials, unless there's been another one since the meeting. 64 burials, and 114 sites of different types are sold, right? Because you said there was one more than what? 2 more, okay, maybe it's 115 of various assorted types of sites, whether for cremains or in the niches or regular, traditional burial. So that's very good news that the cemetery is being, an integral part of our community. Not that I want anybody to get there soon, but it's nice we have it. And that would be it.
Councilman Buchan.
Yeah, several things, and I just had a couple more pop up here. I want to thank Councilman Schmidt for his clarification. And Otto, I too was confused, but now I'm very well educated on what needs to be done. So I appreciate your input there. Thank you, and I'll see that that's taken to them. And Diane, thank you for your generous comments. It's something that we all point with pride here, is that cemetery. And also, the Parks and Recreation Department have done a phenomenal job. Been involved with that, watched it, not involved for many years, and we can point with great pride to those two facilities. So, thank you. Now, first of all, I want to Finance Committee met, we had our meeting, and as my last report stated, the city's in wonderful shape. Just great shape financially. The Jenny Roxburgh and administrator, again, this is redundant, but have done a wonderful job. Yeah, the only thing that's pertinent there, I think, Joe, and you may want to expound upon it, you may not, is she's getting closer to the revamping of the accounting system, and there's a technical word for it, but it escapes me.
We're moving to modified accrual.
Yes.
And the next step is to develop a capital asset policy, and I'm going to draft something of that effect for the Finance Committee to look at the next meeting. That's how we value the assets the city has as a starting point to determine what the value of the city is. I know that sounds kind of silly, but the point of that is that as you move forward in subsequent years, you can see changes in that value, and that either indicates a growth community or a community in decline. And so you've got to start someplace. So that's
Thank you,
the
Joe.
first step.
He said that far more eloquently than I could. Lastly, trailer, not the trailer on 3, the trailers to the west of the city, where the ostriches were. The administrator, zoning administrator, and I had a meeting approximately 3 weeks ago with the owner. I have never met him before, but Jerry's been out there several times, and we spent almost 45 minutes in his office questioning him on his progress. Suffice it to say, he assured us that in a year's time, from 3 weeks ago, that he will be out of the trailer business out there. And moving into an entirely different operation, which may take him right out of the city. One thing I found out in that interview, and I was not privy to, was the fact that several of those trailers on site now are sold. He just hasn't gotten the money for them. They haven't paid him. So that's why several of those have not been removed. And I queried him about that. You know, I said, you're going to have to get after him. So that's one of the reasons. But he assured me next year at this time they will be gone. Jerry did have a meeting, not a private meeting, but I had to leave after our formal meeting broke up. There were some things that the zoning administrator had asked him to accomplish, and some of those were not within the sight of where we had our meeting, so he went with him after our formal meeting ended to check and see if he's accomplished those. I do not know the results of that, what happened there. That's why I wish he would have been here tonight. He could have spoke about that. But at any rate, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. One thing that I did overlook, Joe Rudberg and I met with the county concerning tax forfeit properties earlier this week. Breezy Point has an inordinate number of tax forfeit properties in the county. We have approximately 250 tracts within the city, which comprise over 400 individual city lots. And currently they're tying up approximately $96,000 in outstanding special assessments that are sitting on the books that we can't get until those lots get sold. We are by far the largest tax forfeit property owner in the entire county. And it has come to the attention of the county. They have put together a task force to reduce the number of tax forfeit properties on the books. And obviously the big poster child is Breezy Point. And so there's a task force that is specifically put together to see if we can reduce the number of tax forfeit lots. We just had the preliminary meeting this week. They're going to be working on various things for marketing the lots, doing some creative consolidation of the lots so that we can have lots that are buildable. one of the biggest problems is we have lots that are too small to meet the current setbacks, so they don't have the right square footage to either have have a septic system, or some of them are just too small. We did, I thought it was a very good discussion that we had, and I think the next step is they're going to be looking at what they can do and how they can do it. And like I said, there's going to be some creative things with consolidating lots and trying to make them so that they get off the books. You have anything more to add, Joe? Or?
Well, they also discussed some of the lots that are marginal in terms of buildability. They're wetlands, lowlands, and perhaps they can work some arrangements out with the city to take them for storm sewer management at $1 or $10 or whatever a lot, make it reasonable as opposed to paying market price for them. And I think they understood loud and clear that there's lots that will never sell in town because of those issues. So I think we'll make some headway.
And one of the things that I think they realize better now is trying to come up with what is the real value of a non-buildable lot. I mean, it's never going to sell. Nobody's going to buy it just because they want to have a piece of land here. So hopefully we'll have more to come. I think it was like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, they weren't real clear
They weren't
about that.
really too clear on it,
No.
but hopefully we'll start getting some movement on that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is the task force going to include you or people from Breezy Point at all? Or they're just going to make suggestions for us, and are they
There's-
binding or voluntary?
There's a task force of about 7 or 8 people at the county level, specifically concentrating on these tax forfeit lots. And we're the first project that they're going to work on. They are going to come in with some recommendations, and we will review all those recommendations before they're finalized. Some of the recommendations will have to go to the county board, and some may even have to have further approvals beyond that. But the whole idea is to get creative with getting some of these lots, off the dead list.
For example, the thing that I read was that maybe they thought we should allow camping on some of these residential lots.
Mm-hmm.
And that has proven in the past to be a huge problem.
We told them
So
absolutely not.
this is, in other words, what they can make suggestions that we are not necessarily obligated to.
We made it very clear that that wasn't going to fly.
Right.
Okay, very good,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Mayor, do we know, if I might ask, who's on this task force? Is it all employees of the county, or is it,
You had to ask that question.
well, I'm just curious.
Actually, I asked it first.
There were, yes, I think they were all employees of the county. The county surveyor was one. The gal who runs the lot sales, Heather Becker, a guy from the environmental service forester. I don't remember the other 3.
The surveyor.
I already said him.
Oh, okay. This gal from finance,
Oh, there was an analyst from the land services
Right.
group. I can't remember her name either, but
Lana or something.
yeah.
But
They were all employees, correct?
they're all employees of the county.
Okay.
And they gave us a whole packet of handouts with all sorts of graphs and charts and numbers and stuff like that. The short synopsis on that is Breezy Point stands out. When they have bar charts, all these little bars down there, here's Breezy Point.
Yay, we're outstanding.
Oh, we are. Like I said, I think there's like around 1,200 tax forfeit lots in the county, and we have 400.
Yeah.
So we're not that big.
Tom, did they have any explanation why that is? Is it because it's unbuildable, or?
That was the kind of the point of the meeting, is why does Breezy Point have all of these? And I think that was the illuminating part is, we explained to them about minimum maintenance roads. Some of these are basically just, 2 tracks through the woods. But it shows up as a plotted road on their maps, so they don't know any difference. They can't tell the difference between that road and County Road 11. So that, like I say, it was a very good meeting. They took back more information that they did not have before.
Well, that's good.
Okay, moving on. The next order of business is, last month we had the comprehensive plan. We tabled that to put together a strikeout copy that has been included in the packet. We have the full plan that was presented the previous month. So we can see what actual changes were made. The copy has been provided as requested as best we can do it. Shows the changes in the maps and everything. And we have Resolution 1611. I'll entertain a motion for approval of Resolution 1611, and then we'll have some discussion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Councilman Bakken, I'll start at your end.
I have nothing.
Councilman Williams.
I have some comments.
Okay.
Besides the park being all in yellow because it moved, this was like, in some cases, like a major rewrite. Not just some kind of tweaks or something here. And I just wonder if there shouldn't have been, for example, in the roads. Did the roads committee participate in this, or this was just that committee of the comp plan?
Well, I think the roads committee talked about some of it. They didn't participate in the comp plan discussion.
Well, I think with something this major, shouldn't there have been like a wider group or?
Well, in the roads, there was things that were taken off the maps that were in the comprehensive plan. There was also the discussion out by the school that was added, and that was really about it.
And I'm not displeased with what's here because
Yeah.
in many cases I look and go, geez, that's certainly better written than it was.
And the road plan itself as to how we're going to move forward, that was reviewed by the road committee. It was also reviewed by the planning commission. So I'm not quite sure what your concerns are.
Well, that was more than just tweaks. It was pretty much a major overhaul. And to have just, I thought the purpose of the comp plan was to get as wide a participation as you could. And to me, this just seems big.
Well, I guess I just looked at it as an update, and maybe I'm in error in that regard.
That's just how I see it.
I forgot which section, Section 8 or something like that. It talks about the administration of the comp plan. The comp plan, when it's originated, has a lot of public participation.
I know.
And
I've
everything
been
else.
in
And
two
you
of
were
them.
on it.
Two of them.
Yeah. And then at the 5-year interval,
Yeah.
you update it for changes that have occurred during the last 5 years. And then the 5 years hence, you do another full-blown
A major-
review, a major rewrite. So this is basically what we've done the last 5 years, incorporating it into the comprehensive plan.
In just some areas, my comment was that it seemed more than just a tweak, it seemed major. And that was my comment, more than just,
And,
patching up or removing things that were already done.
okay. And that's good.
That was
Okay.
my comment.
Okay. Councilman Schmidt?
Well, I'm glad you asked Diane first because she is, she's saying a lot of the things that I am going to say and then some. These are my comments. They're in here. I posted them. And I have to agree with what she said. This is more than an update. There are some major changes in direction for this community. What I attempted to do was to go through this, and I went through it numerous times to the point I guess it was causing me to go blind, but I wanted to separate out those things that, are obvious changes based on already implementation factors that have occurred within the city. For example, the zoning changes were clearly strikeouts, and rightly so. But there are other things in here that give me pause, and one of the things that I wanted to go back and just kind of confirm, but when Diane mentioned, the wide participation and whatever, I know on that last, when we did the last iteration of the comp plan, and we had a committee put together, interestingly enough, there are 4 of us who sat on that comp plan committee who are sitting here at the council. We have another person who's sitting on the, pardon me, the P&Z, Carol Metzger. And my point is that we labored hard and long in this discussion we had just a couple of moments ago about the tax forfeited lots in this community. I recall at one of those meetings, and this was back, this was 8 years ago, when we were discussing the elephant in the room in Breezy Point are all of these small lot subdivisions that we are having very difficult time dealing with. Hence, we have a lot of tax forfeited lots because people aren't going to pay taxes on something they feel has no value. Now, I might be wrong, but Diane, Gary, and Michael, I'm sure, will correct me. One of the things we really spent a lot of time on was what we could do to perhaps foster development on these small lots without incurring huge debt on the part of the city for extending out utilities that may or may not ever be used. If we just provided a mechanism, for example, to provide for enhanced on-site sewage disposal that would allow somebody to come in and build on these smaller lots. When I'm going through this, however, I note that there's a lot of strikeouts that when we talked about enhanced treatment or pre-treatment or a type 2 or 3 type of on-site sewage disposal, there's strikeouts. And I have a question is why? I think that's absolutely 180-degree turnabout from where that comp plan committee was going with trying to get some action in these areas where we feel it's going to be years and years and years before we'll ever get sewer out there. Like I said, I went through this and just making notations and wondering again, why was the verbiage changed? Why did a will become a may? Another thing that kind of caught my eye was when we were talking about Pelican Lake, where Lake Ozzie was also mentioned.
It was stricken.
It was stricken. No.
For water, and underwater quality, it was on page 5-1.
Yeah. And again, I'm not sure I understand why would we strike out Lake Ozzie, obviously an extraordinary resource to this community. The banner on our webpage, green trees, blue waters, and what's the other one? Great people. I think, it just, I really believe that, again, I'm not trying to impugn the P&Z, but if you go back to the meeting and look at the discussion that took place on the YouTube, I don't know, Joe, did they have benefit of a strikeout version that they looked at?
They did not.
I don't think the discussion lasts 30 minutes.
No, it probably didn't.
No, how
And
would it if they didn't know what the changes were?
Well, you see, and here's where I'm going with that. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be prudent for the council and the P&Z to meet in a joint kind of session where we can go through these things. Looking at the members of the P and Z, there are, well, there are 5 members. 3 of them are relatively newcomers to the whole process. Like I said, Carol Metzger was on the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, so she's totally familiar with the process and what was discussed, I'm sure. But I'm wondering if it wouldn't really serve the community well to go through these strikeouts, these concerns. Like I said, the ones that had to do with what's already been implemented, those are obvious. That's updating it, that's tweaking it. But when you start suggesting things that I've come across in my review that provide a different direction for this community to take on how it views development, how it views protecting our environment, both superficial waters and the groundwater, yeah, I find that bothersome. And I would really think it would be something we should discuss. Unless you want me to go through these, Mayor, I'll just reserve the right to come back and talk some more if you want me to go through every one of my concerns.
Just in response to the subsurface treatment program, when this comp plan was originally adopted, there were rules that were in the works proposed by PCA. They hadn't been adopted. The comp plan was adopted in 2010. Crow Wing County and I believe 2 other counties took PCA to task concerning the proposed rules. PCA conceded. It resulted in new rules being adopted in 2011. That's why those changes have been made. And so those programs, even the names that are in the comp plan, are no longer valid. They've been superseded by this rule.
And Joe, I'm glad you brought that up. You're talking about, I think it's 7080 or whatever.
Yeah, it's 7080 through 7083.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with you. You know, those changes did occur, but that does not preclude the city of Breezy Point from protecting its own surface waters and groundwaters with stricter requirements. If we determine, for example, that we want to foster development on small lots and we don't feel it's prudent to extend sewer lines, why can't we look at pre-treatment types of septic systems that would allow for development without extension of sewer lines?
I'm not going to, argue with you or any of that kind of stuff, but the density were defined at 20,000, 40,000, and 60,000 square feet. We allow a septic system on 20,000 square feet now based on the new rules. And so it really didn't bias anything in terms of providing additional benefit to properties for development. So development was allowed. And in terms of protecting the environment, the new rules supposedly are soil dependent, and systems are designed to deal with those soils specifically for that particular area. They have to be designed by a septic tank installer. So the view was that it really didn't bias anything to keep those rules as they existed. Planning Commission met twice with the county, and and they just felt that it made a lot of sense to go in this direction. And that was when we were trying to implement those rules from the comprehensive plan the first go around. Not, realizing that, we made the changes to this plan.
Well, I think we have, again, responsibilities as a city council to, we try to protect property values.
Yep.
We also try to protect the environment. I'm not so sure that the language changes in this particular document, as I see it, really accomplish the latter. I think what it does is it leaves some indication that if you have a 20,000 square foot lot and you build a type 1 system, that we feel that's enough protection for the groundwater. And I'm not so sure that that was the message we were getting as a committee when we were listening to the engineers who appeared before us and talked to us about the various kinds of septic systems that could be initiated and implemented in this town that would protect the groundwater to a far greater extent than than what's protecting it now. Especially around those areas in Lake Assiniboine. I think we noted on the map, I still see where it talks about a feasibility study. Okay?
Yeah,
But one of the things we discussed, and again, I remember this vividly, there was a discussion about the expense that would be incurred to extend lines out to that part of,
that was where like a neighborhood community drain field was discussed, and that, so to take this out, when that's been discussed, I was puzzled by that too, because that was why we were looking at purchasing possible acreage.
Sure.
and you know, again, there probably is a lot of legitimacy, Joe, for changing the verbiage based on what MPCA and whatever, but again, in my discussions with people at the county and with people at MPCA, and none of them told me that the city couldn't do this. They basically sit on the soil-based sewage treatment systems, the SSTS, I guess is the way they refer to it. In those rules under 7080, there's nothing that says a local governmental jurisdiction. Now, we evidently, somewhere along the line, adopted the county's
Yes.
program for SSTS. I was going through our code book, and again, I spoke to you briefly about it today, and what I didn't ask you, and I should have, was where in our code book is that specifically indicated that we
It
by
isn't
reference?
specifically indicated. It says, and I can't remember exactly how it's stated, but as rules amended or meeting state statute or something to that effect. When the rule changed, I asked the city attorney if this meant that we're legal, and he said it did. And I also asked the county if they were following those rules, and they said they were. And so we left it at that.
Well,
I can find it for you if you'd like later.
yeah, I found little snippets in the code where they talked about on-site sewage disposal, but I thought maybe there would have been something that by reference or whatever indicated, I go back to the county, I suppose if I ask them for a copy of their SSTS plan, that
Right.
I'll be able to find it online somewhere, but
As I recall, the county is responsible for setting those parameters. The city can set different parameters, but they have to be at least as strict as the county's parameters.
and can be more strict.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, you know, I guess that's what I've been trying to say. We can be, and I think the idea was that by being more strict, two things are accomplished. One is we open up some possibilities for development that would not necessarily incur the city going into horrendous debt to try and extend sewer out to these areas, but would allow the property owner to develop a system on-site sewage disposal that not only would meet county standards, but would exceed those standards for protection of the groundwater, especially in areas around our lakes, and in particular concern is Lake Assiniboine, where we know there's some issues there already. So, like I said, Mayor, I'd be glad to go through each and every one of these, but I don't know. My druthers would be to sit down and have some kind of a joint session with P&Z, bring them along and explain to them what our concerns are, discuss them, find out what they understood the difference being in the approach to the language and so on, which.
Well, I think you made a good comment, about the planning commission not seeing a strikeout underlying copy, and maybe we should take that to them at their next meeting and have them review as a starting place.
Would there be any merit of having a joint session?
Oh, I think we could have a joint meeting. I don't have a problem with that. I just think that you're bringing up concerns that they didn't really recognize or realize, and part of that was probably because they didn't have a strikeout copy. And so I think we'll take that to them next week and have them review it, and we'll get back to you.
Please don't mention to them that I said all this, because
I'm sorry you're on TV.
Otherwise, we got it all right here.
I think I'm on their wanted list, but at any rate,
May I add on to something Otto mentioned? I know there was changes to the parks plan. It was never seen by the parks committee.
We had talked about the fact that we were updating it to change it to the current, and I don't believe we did anything other than that.
Right, but, I mean, if there's time for the P and Z to see it, could not parks see it?
Sure.
But
I
if the
mean,
whole thing is yellow, that's really not a help. So
well, that's why we
just
gave you a
the
second
separate
copy.
one. Right, right.
But yeah, I mean, we just told them we were bringing things up to date from those things we had accomplished. We added some pictures and those sorts of things. We can certainly give that to them. That's not a problem.
Because they're supposed, the way I understand a comp plan, and this, it's supposed to have wider involvement. That's what I'm in favor of doing.
Okay.
Councilman Maroney. Anything
We'll
else?
see it again. No, nothing more.
Well, we have the motion on the floor to approve Resolution 1611. I'll call the question on that. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
Councilman, Resolution 1611 is defeated. So at this point, we'll bring it back to planning and zoning, make sure it gets through the park and rec, as well as there was changes to the cemetery, I think, was also in here. So make sure that they see it as well.
Mr. Mayor, are we talking about doing a joint?
That was the next
That's
thing
what I
was,
wanted, question.
How do we want to do this?
I would like the planning commission to review the strikeout underlying copies
Okay.
and
Then set a meeting.
then set up a meeting.
A joint meeting?
Yep.
Will we see then if they make, are they going to be making changes or just see it?
We'll find out what they decide.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Otto may have changes. I had, you know,
I'll let you know.
I expect that meeting
I
to be
expect that.
a working meeting.
Yes.
Whereas we will actually be sitting there with pencil and paper.
Yep.
I was really hoping to get this comp plan update done by the beginning of this year, and I see it dragging out, so I would like to get whatever we can to get this thing moving. It was due at the 5-year mark, and we're coming up on the 6th year now. I would like to see this get done.
right. Right?
Yes. Next item of business is the double chip demonstration project. We've talked about the possibility of having something different as a means of road maintenance. And we became aware of a project in Silver Creek Township near Monticello that had done a chip seal over gravel roadway. And we felt that this was might be a good substitute for the annual dust coating and provide a more durable surface to deal with erosion on the roadways. The road committee has talked about this as a possible demonstration project, and the roads that we've chosen have been our Birch, Aspen, and the non-minimum maintenance road of portion of Oak has been looked at. The road committee did feel that this was a worthwhile demonstration project to see how it works out. They want to see how the application controls the erosion, how it stands up to traffic and winter plowing, etc. We did get a quote, and we do have a vendor that's going to be seal coating in town. The new quote is in the amount of $20,730 based on the estimated quantities. We do have one caveat in that the vendor will only honor the quote provided he's in the area for the remaining seal coat, so timing is an issue. He is going to be doing some work in township around Brainerd, and then he would be coming up here doing the seal coating on roads 3 and 4 from Bearfield to Breezy Point. So the timing, can work out if we can get this thing moving. Resolution 1612 has been provided for the accomplishing this project. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 1612, and then we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. I'll start with you as part of the road committee, Councilman Schmidt.
I think the key here is this is a demonstration project, and again, in my attempt to provide some consistency in my thought processes, this is another thing that the city can look at as a way of perhaps fostering some development in areas where we wouldn't see it coming by improving roads in a way that would not be as costly as the way we're doing it now with an engineered road and asphalt paving and so on and so forth. Again, it's not meant to be a permanent fix, but it's something that's meant, to perhaps fill that period of time, between sewer extension and so on, where an engineered road would be in place when we're putting sewer in the right of way and so on. Again, Joe discusses how this is going to be paid for, and again, I think this is a worthwhile expenditure of funds for this one demonstration project, and the sooner we can get it done, it gives us a period of time to measure whether it was a good thing or not.
Councilman Maroney.
I agree with Otto being part of the Roads Commission committee. One thing that I wanted to make sure that if we did move forward with it, that the resolution, which is the last part, that this is a demonstration project, and just because we do it this year doesn't mean that we're going to be doing it the next couple of years. We want to see exactly what the lifespan of it is to make sure our dollars are put to good use. So by gauging it over the complete life cycle of what this investment is going to do is one of my key things. Being that it's a road maintenance and it's not really an upgrade, assessments aren't passed on to the landowners. It's 100% on our cost out of the maintenance fees. I didn't want the public to be able to see what this looks like and what the result is and start requesting it left and right throughout the city. It's something that we really want to just gauge the complete life cycle of it to justify it doing it in the future. So glad that got in there.
Councilman Bakken.
No, sir.
Councilman Williams.
I have a question. The lifespan, like 5 to 7 years approximately. So at the end of the 7 years, what kind of shape is it in? And then is all that stuff picked back up and ground up and used again? Or what's the road like when it's worn out?
It would just start to break up and become smaller pieces, much like gravel becomes smaller pieces. It would just start to fall apart. The integrity right now, it's going to be bound together by itself, and it will slowly degrade and lose that elasticity and binding capacity.
Okay, so then to Maury's concern, are these roads going to be checked for, soundness?
They have to be new gravel well, not completely, but new gravel, a layer has to be put on. It's got to be compacted. It's got to be firmed up to make sure that when the application's put on top of it, it'll hold. If it's like Maury was suggesting, it's not going to hold.
Right. And there's really nothing to say that after 7, 8 years or something like that, and if it's still in halfway decent shape, you couldn't put another layer of chip seal on top of it.
Sure.
To strengthen it. And, this could go on for quite a while.
Until you've actually built blacktop.
Well, it's different material, but, yeah, it could be, it could last for, quite a few years.
Then, if we're going that direction, would it be wise to have some sort of policy about, so we don't run into the issue that Mike was talking about, where people see this as a way to have a paved road without paying for
Right.
it?
And
Because I don't think Otto and I
think
want to
we-
pay for someone else.
Right, I think we will know that in like maybe 3 or 4 years, if this is actually going to be working, and at that point, we could generate a policy on doing this, or we may find that we may not want to continue doing it. So we do have that provision in here that this is a demonstration project, and we're going to be monitoring it and seeing how it works to find out if we want to do this in other places.
Real quick question.
Yes.
Joe, what was our original estimate again that we had proposed under the single layer
I think it was like 10.8 or something like that, but we were not using the double rock, and that was a 2013 cost, was that correct, Joe? Yeah, 2013 cost.
Your original paperwork on the first,
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I do, Mayor, I just believe in the road committee, when they took a look at this proposal, the benefit cost of this particular project, I think, has to be something, we obviously sit down and take a look at, depending on how, if this thing falls apart after 1 or 2 years, the benefit cost is going to be an easy one. It didn't have the benefit that merits the cost. But if this experiment does indicate that it's a route to go, to follow, it would indicate to me that there is a benefit to the cost of the project that exceeds going right into a engineered road. So I think we all kind of share that concern.
May I ask Joe a question?
Yes.
May I ask Joe a question?
Yes.
Yeah. Joe, I know when you plow the snow, there's one truck for gravel roads and something else, going on the blacktop road. Does this cause a problem, or is it gonna be easy to plow, or do you know?
we'll use lighter equipment initially and we'll go from there. See how it handles. I mean, if it has problems with a one-ton pickup, it'd be not advisable to use the dump trucks, but if it seems to be holding up, we'll use our heavier equipment to see how it handles it. But it performs well on the paved roads we have. I mean, we haven't been scraping it off, but it's quite a different application.
So you're not worried about this then?
No, I'm worried.
Oh.
But I'm not losing sleep or over.
Oh, that's
We
it.
pay them to worry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 1612 is approved. We'll get started on that. Next item of business is the sale of the Lincoln Navigator. Lincoln Navigator is being replaced, and so is now been put up for bid. 11 bids were received. The high bid of $9,500 was received from Joseph Thean. The second highest bid was $9,100 from Nate Lee. Entertain a motion to accept the high bid of $9,500 from Joseph Thean, and the contingency would be, if he does not purchase it, that it would go to Nate Lee for $9,100.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Put the word to Joseph Thean, he can get his Lincoln Navigator. That's been a very nice vehicle, and I would like to note that that was one of those vehicles that was forfeited by a drunk driver, and so it has served us well. Next item that was up for bid was a 1998 Tahoe, forfeited under a DWI. 2 bids, this one was in relatively tough shape. 2 bids were received, high bid being $325 from Brent Johnson, and the second, $300 from Mark Schob. I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase by Brent Johnson and the contingency for Mark Schob at $300.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of approving Brent Johnson, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item of business is lift station repairs. I did talk with Joe Zirden here a couple weeks ago. This is an exigent type of a condition. During the annual inspection last fall, we discovered some leaky base elbows and sloppy check valve. Both elbows need to be replaced, and it is going to be requiring some modifications to the lift station to create a bypass so they can get the optimal conditions to perform the replacement. Several technical issues talking about the design and what needs to be done, what items need to be done. As this was not a budgeted item because it is exigent, we're going to be putting off replacing the controller on which lift station? 5, on lift station 5. Oh, yeah, there it is. And using that money for this repair. Joe, is there anything you want to add to that? I think it's kind of a technical thing, but the whole issue is it needs to be done, and it needs to be done rather soon.
I'd move the action requested by Joe Zierden.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
You know, I couldn't help but think as I'm reading through this that it kind of described my physical condition.
You have a leak in the elbow?
Yeah, my check valves aren't working so well.
And in the ongoing saga of the old Edgewater Inn site, we're going to be removing the concrete and the blacktop parking lot area. We received 2 quotes, and they were segregated out for removing of the concrete and removing the asphalt. It's felt that Public Works can remove the asphalt ourselves, but so we're looking at the removal of the concrete. We have 2 bids, one for $2,900, one for $3,000, with only a difference of $100 between the 2 of them. We would be looking at whichever one can meet our time frame. So I'll accept a motion to get the concrete removed that best meets our timeline to complete the removal.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, what's our timeline? I mean,
Right there.
does it have to be done a certain date?
It would mostly be when we have time, whether the contractor has time to work with us type of thing. Because we would like to get the concrete out, and right as that is all, be right behind the pavement, because there will be depression where the foundation was dug up, so we can smooth everything over, so we don't have a 1 to 2 week gap where we're busy, but they were able to do it, which could make some unnecessary hazards.
You're just gonna coordinate with both of them and see which one fits?
Correct.
Okay.
If whoever could, that would make the most sense to get it accomplished efficiently.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The removal of the concrete is approved. And that completes the agenda. Meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, note the next month.